saw a report a few days ago on a third liquefied natural gas firm that has its eyes set on Brownsville at the port. Ed Campirano is the port director for the Valley's Port. Ed, welcome back to the show. Can you tell us a little bit more about this firm that is eyeing the area?
Well, good morning, gentlemen. Yes, the third announcement, or the announcement of what was to initiate the FERC process, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission process, was announced by Next Decade LNG. They are setting up a project called Rio Grande LNG, which will be a wholly owned subsidiary of Next Decade.
Okay.
They have a land option on a 1,000-acre site here at the Port of Brownsville. It's along the ship channel, and they're proposing to build a liquefaction facility with the intent of being able to export LNG to foreign markets.
How far apart is Rio Grande LNG, which is Next Decade? How far apart is this acreage compared to the other two proposals? Are they nearby, close by?
Well actually, there are actually 5 land options for LNG facilities at the port currently.
Okay. 3
of the firms that have announced initiating the FERC process, 2 of them are located on the north side of the ship channel, and they are adjoining each other. That is Texas LNG and Next Decade LNG. The other firm that has announced its initiation of the FERC process is Anova LNG, and they are located on the south side of the ship channel. Now, let me just say, even though they're talking about a 1,000-acre land option, the building footprint of the facility will not be 1,000 acres. These guys have large perimeters surrounding them, and so consequently, while they may control 1,000 acres ultimately, if they're going to develop a project, their building footprint certainly is not going to take up.
Is this wide berth a safety issue, a precaution?
Well, I think there's safety issues associated with access with the facility. But again, that is why they're initiating this process, to actually begin to address all of the concerns associated with safety, operations, transportation, environment. So, this is beginning to get into what essentially would be the meat of the process with the regulatory compliance issues.
Ed Campirano is the port director for the Rio Grande Valley Port of Brownsville, joining us on 710 KURV.
Ed, Tim Sullivan here. Let's elaborate on that. Just kind of get into the weeds a little bit here. How many of these, I guess there are 3 now, right? 3 LNG firms. Have they officially confirmed to build at the port?
Well, this is the process that they must go through. They have announced plans to develop projects at the Port of Brownsville. However, they still have to secure all of the necessary permits, including the compliance with all of the regulatory provisions of constructing and operating a facility. At this point, this is a very significant and serious step, because now they're entering into what is going to be the regulatory part. They've been doing their due diligence. They've been doing site assessment. They've been doing everything necessary to prepare for this process. Now, so at this point, they are going to go through and essentially present their proposals, address any concerns that are raised, whether they're raised by the public, whether they're raised by the port, whether they're raised by the federal regulatory agencies. All of the stakeholders have an opportunity to essentially review what it is they're proposing.
How long does that last?
Process, it'll be about a 2-year process.
Wow. Okay.
Even at the end of the day, most of these announcements are indicating that their final decision, which they call the FID, the final investment decision, as to whether or not they will proceed, will still not occur till late 2016 or early 2017. So at this point, they're really, as you say, they're really going to get into the weeds of these projects.
What could be standing in the way then? What obstacles could possibly prevent them from doing what they want to do, and what I think most of the Valley would like to see?
Well, I guess part of the process will identify any fatal flaws. And of course, the big issues are going to be the operation of the facility, the safety associated with the operation of the facility, and let me kind of address safety because LNG is actually one of the safest. They have one of the best track records of any of the petrochemical or oil related, energy related facilities.
That's good to hear.
They are very, very. They have very, very high standards that must be met, and so consequently, the industry as a whole enjoys a pretty successful track record of operation. Of course, there's going to be environmental concerns. So all of those issues are all part of the regulatory compliance. So they still have to secure permits associated with the ability to construct and operate a facility.
Ed Campirano is the port director for the Port of Brownsville. Our guest right now on 710 KURV. We're talking about the potential establishment of a liquefied natural gas node.
3 of them.
And an export facility. 3 of them in Brownsville are eyeing this area. Ed, to the best of your recollection, has the Rio Grande Valley, has Brownsville ever been prospected like this for an LNG facility?
I know that about 15 years ago, there was a lot of discussion and actually construction of what were at that time import facilities. And at that time, Brownsville was looked at as a potential site for an import facility. And it was Cheniere. Cheniere is a company that is currently building a facility in the Sabine Neches Waterway in northeast Texas, and also is proposing to build a facility in Corpus. However, the reason that an intake facility did not work here, and essentially it was just the reverse of what they're proposing, is that we don't have any customers in this area that would be users of LNG.
Wow.
And that's why most of them are located in the upper coast, where essentially they have the petrochemical companies,
Okay.
So the ConocoPhillips of the world.
What has sparked then this fairly new interest in the LNG export?
Well, export facility doesn't require you to be located where the customer is. In this particular case, what makes Brownsville attractive is that, one, we have the land available on a deep water sea channel that you can't really find anywhere else.
We're relatively close to the extraction point as well, I would imagine.
Well, and that's another thing. Now with Eagle Ford, many of these will be looking at the Eagle Ford shale and primarily the Agua Dulce natural gas hub for the feed gas for this project. And then secondly, we don't have the congestion, we don't have the development that you have in other parts of the Texas coast in this area. So I guess you could almost say, it's almost like, we're at the right place at the right time as it relates to this kind of proposed development and investment.
And let's put it into perspective what it means to the economy. If it happens, if we set up one of these exporting facilities for liquefied natural gas, that's a game changer. How does that affect the economy down here?
Well, it's obviously going to be. I mean, if you read the next decade press release on their announcement, they're projecting that during the construction phase, which will last 4 to 5 years, it's 5,000 construction jobs.
Wow, man.
That once they convert
5,000
facilities to permanent facilities, they're projecting that they will create approximately 200 to 250 permanent jobs. Now, you're talking about the kinds of jobs that pay on average. I've seen figures anywhere from $70,000 to $85,000.
Nice. Not bad.
Tim Sullivan and my producer Fred Cruz, they want to know where to sign up right now.
Wait a minute. That's still look at how far down the line we're talking. I'll be retirement age by that.
You're never going to retire, buddy. I got news for you. That's Ed Campirano. He's the port director at Brownsville, joining us on 710 KURV.